Welcome to the MLS Orientation. This session will provide you with information about MLS-related tools and the very importance of the MLS rules. As we go through the rules, pause the video and take notes as needed. To complete your MLS orientation requirement, you must take and pass the MLS Orientation Exam. You are only allowed to take the exam one time. Upon completing the exam, you will receive your score immediately. If you passed, you would have satisfied your mandatory MLS orientation requirement. If you did not pass, you will need to attend an upcoming live virtual orientation webinar. Let's get started. Before we look at some rules, let me introduce you to some of the MLS-related tools. The full list of all the MLS tools can be found at the following URL. First, let's take a look at your MLS. It is called Paragon. Go to bayeast.org and click on Paragon MLS on the upper right-hand corner. Log in with your 9-digit member ID. Within the Paragon MLS, you can access to a total of 8 MLS systems where you can list and search listings. Now let's talk about some MLS-related tools. Let's start with one of the most important tools you'll use as a listing agent, the listing presentation. This is what you present to a seller when you sit down to review the market stats, comparable properties, and pricing strategies for their home. Available tools are Paragon Easy CMA, Cloud CMA, RPR Seller Reports. Next up, digital forms. All of the contracts and forms provided by the California Association of Realtors, or CAR, are available to you through multiple platforms like Lone Wolf Transactions, ZipForm Edition, Glide, or .loop. Now let's talk about tools for buyer agents. You've got some great resources to help your buyers search smarter and keep you as their go-to expert. Tools such as Collab Center within Paragon, RPR School and Neighborhood Reports, and Statistical Report on bayeast.org. Finally, let's talk marketing. Whether you're farming a neighborhood, preparing for an open house, or trying to grow your sphere, you have tools to help you generate new leads and stay top of mind with your database. Tools such as CAR's One Cool Thing, mailing labels on RPR and CRS Tax Suite. Remember to check the full list on bayeast.org. Now let's talk about MLS rules and regulations. Who writes the MLS rules and what are they? The MLS rules are created by the National Association of Realtors. The complete list of MLS rules is available on our website and within Paragon. Now let's review some rules. MLS Rule 7.2 Types of listings and responsibility for classification. The MLS shall accept the following listings on the MLS: exclusive right to sell, exclusive agency, open, probate listings. It shall be the responsibility of the broker participant in real estate subscriber to properly classify the type of listing. MLS Rule 7.3 Types of properties, responsibility for classification. The MLS shall accept the listing that satisfies the requirements of these rules on the following types of properties: residential, residential income, mobile homes, only those that may be sold by a licensed real estate agent, lots and land, lease rental, commercial industrial for lease, commercial industrial for sale, commercial lots and land, commercial residential income, multi-units 5+, commercial business opportunity. It shall be the responsibility of the broker participant and subscriber to properly classify the listed property, and if necessary, obtain a legal opinion to determine the correct classification. Please note, submission of duplicate listings by the same listing agent within the same property class is prohibited. Rule 8.1 Listing Agreement and Seller's Permission. Prior to inputting a listing to the service, the listing broker shall obtain the written agreement of the seller expressly granting the listing broker authority to 1. File the listing with the service for publication and dissemination to those authorized by the MLS. 2. Act as an agent for the seller. 3. Abide by the rules of the service. 4. Provide timely notice of status changes of the listing to the service. 5. Provide sales information including selling price to the service upon sale of the property for publication and dissemination to those authorized by the MLS. 6. Publish sales information after the final closing of a sales transaction in accordance with these MLS rules. Rule 8.2 Written documentation. Listing brokers filing listings with the service shall have a written listing agreement with all necessary signatures in their possession. By inputting a listing to the service, broker participants and real estate subscribers represent that they have in their possession such written agreements establishing agency and the represented type of listing agreement. The service shall also have the right to demand a copy of seller's written authorization required under these rules. If the broker participant or real estate subscriber fails to provide documentation requested by the service within 1 day, the service shall have the right to immediately withdraw any listings from the database in addition to disciplining the broker participant and real estate subscriber for a violation of MLS rules. MLS Rule 8.6 Accuracy of information. Responsibility for accuracy. By inputting information into the MLS computer database, the listing broker represents that the information input is accurate to the best of the listing broker's knowledge. The listing broker shall use good faith efforts to determine the accuracy of the information and shall not submit or input information which the listing broker knows to be inaccurate. Upon receipt of the first publication or electronic transfer by the MLS of such information, the listing broker shall make all necessary corrections. The MLS merely publishes the MLS information and has no affirmative responsibility to verify the accuracy of the MLS information. The MLS, however, reserves the right to require participants and subscribers to change their MLS information if the MLS is made aware of alleged inaccuracies in the MLS information and the MLS determines that such inaccuracies do in fact exist. The MLS also reserves the right to remove a listing that contains said inaccurate information from the MLS compilation of current listings should participant or subscriber refuse or fail to timely correct. A participant or subscriber is required to correct inaccurate information within 2 days after being notified of the inaccuracies by the MLS. MLS Rules 7.5 Mandatory submission. Within 1 business day of marketing or advertising a property to the public or within 2 days after all necessary signatures of the seller have been obtained on the listing or at the beginning date of the listing as specified in the contract, whichever is later, on any exclusive right to sell or seller reserved listing agreement for the sale of 1 to 4 unit residential property and vacant lots located within the service area of the MLS, broker participants must input the listing to the service for cooperation with other participants. Public marketing or advertising includes, but is not limited to, conveying or displaying any information about the property or its availability for sale through or on any windows, signs, public-facing websites, social media, brokerage or franchise-operated websites, including IDX and VOW, digital communications marketing such as email, text or phone blasts, social media messaging, multi-brokerage or franchise listing sharing networks, flyers or written material or on any applications available to the public or through conducting an open house. The public would include anyone outside the brokers and agents licensed within a single listing brokerage and their clients, as further described in Section 7.6. Only those listings that are within the service area of the MLS must be input. MLS Rule 7.5.1 Clear cooperation. Within 1 business day of marketing a property to the public, the listing broker must submit the listing to the MLS for cooperation with other MLS participants. Public marketing includes, but is not limited to, flyers displayed in windows, yard signs, digital marketing on public-facing websites, brokerage website displays, including IDX and VOW, digital communications marketing such as email blasts, multi-brokerage listing sharing networks, and applications available to the general public. The public would include anyone outside the brokers and agents licensed within a single brokerage and their clients. After signing a listing agreement, if there is no public marketing, listing needs to be inputted to the MLS within 2 days. If there is any form of public marketing, listing needs to be inputted to the MLS within 1 business day. MLS Rule 7.6 Exempted listings. Explains how to proceed if your seller refuses to permit the listing to be disseminated by the MLS service. Within 3 days, the listing broker shall submit a listing waiver signed by the seller stating the seller does not authorize the listing to be disseminated. MLS Rule 7.6. Exempted listings. If the seller refuses to permit the listing to be disseminated by the service on any exclusive right to sell or seller listing agreement for the sale of 1 to 4 unit residential property and vacant lots located within the service area of the MLS, the listing broker shall submit to the service within 3 days after all necessary signatures of the sellers have been obtained on the listing agreement or at the beginning date of the listing as specified in the contract, whichever is later, a certification signed by the seller stating that the seller instructs listing broker to do no public marketing or advertising, as public marketing or advertising is defined in Section 7.5, that the only scope of permissible promotion of the property will occur internally within the brokerage and consist of direct one-on-one communication between the listing broker and licensees affiliated with the listing broker and their respective clients, which means office exclusive, and that seller refuses to authorize the listing to be disseminated by the service. CAR standard form SELM and/or RLA may be used for this certification, but in any event, said certificate shall include the aforementioned required statements as well as an advisory to seller that, in keeping the listing off the MLS, 1. Real estate agents and brokers from other real estate offices, and their buyer clients, who have access to the MLS may not be aware seller's property is for sale. 2. Seller's property will not be included in the MLS's download to various real estate internet sites that are used by the public to search for property listings. 3. Real estate agents, brokers and members of the public may be unaware of the terms and conditions under which seller is marketing the property. And 4. Any reduction in exposure of the property may lower the number of offers made negatively impact the sale price. In the event listing broker commences any public marketing or advertising on an exempted listing, submission to the MLS for dissemination is required within 1 business day thereafter in accordance with Section 7.5. You may complete either the Bay East waiver, which you can download from our website, or you may use the CAR standard waiver form within Zip Forms. Either form is acceptable. You may email the form to bayeast@mlsservices@bayeast.org. or submit the form here. MLS Rule 11.5. Photographs. A. By submitting photographs to the MLS, the participant and/or subscriber represents and warrants that he or she either owns the right to reproduce and display such photographs or has procured such rights from the appropriate party, and has the authority to grant and hereby grants the MLS, and the other participants and subscribers the right to reproduce and display the photographs in accordance with these rules and regulations. Use of photographs by a subsequent listing agent requires prior written authorization from the originating listing agent or other appropriate party, with the legal right to reproduce and display such photographs. B. At least one photo or graphic image of the front exterior of the property accurately displaying the listed property, except where sellers expressly direct in writing that photographs of their property not appear in MLS compilations, is required to be posted on the MLS within 1 day of the listing in all categories other than business opportunity and lots and land. The MLS allows branded and unbranded virtual tours, but all photos uploaded must be unbranded. What is the difference between a branded and an unbranded? A branded photo or virtual tour contains broker or agent information. Branded photos are prohibited on the MLS, including any that show the agent's sign in the photo. An unbranded photo or virtual tour contains only information about the property. It has no broker or agent information showing. Many videographers will provide you with both a branded and unbranded video link. Be sure to check each video link and upload to the correct data field on the MLS. Remarks. There are 2 types of remarks in the MLS: public and confidential. Both are explained in Rule 12.5. Information in the public remarks section shall only contain a description of the property. None of these are permitted. MLS Rule 12.5.1. Public remarks restrictions and requirements. A. Information in the public remarks shall only relate to the marketing, description, and condition of the property. B. Advertising of financing terms in public remarks is prohibited. C. No contact information is permitted, including names, phone or fax numbers, email addresses or branded website addresses, including branded virtual tours and branded transaction tracking URLs. D. No showing instructions are permitted, including references to lockbox, alarm, gate or other security codes, or the occupancy of the property. However, a statement that the property shall be delivered vacant is not a violation. E. No information directed toward real estate agents or brokers may be shown in public remarks. F. Listing content and fair housing laws. All listing information, including all remarks, submitted to the MLS must be in compliance with fair housing laws. The MLS monitors listing content and employs a process for identifying potential violations of fair housing laws. Should potential fair housing law violations be identified, participants and subscribers will be advised to immediately remove or correct such potential violations. Failure to remove or correct may subject participants and subscribers to discipline and/or subject the listing to immediate removal from display. G. Seller's concession or credit information and comments are prohibited. H. Any compensation or commission information is prohibited. Information in the confidential remarks section is for you to communicate important information to other agents, not to the public. MLS Rule 12.5.2. Confidential remarks restrictions and requirements. For comp purposes only, must appear in the first line of confidential remarks when a listing is entered for that purpose. References to codes, burglar alarm, security system, gate codes, assigned parking space numbers, or combo lockbox code may only be placed in confidential remarks only with seller's written permission. Caution: title or escrow information may be entered in confidential remarks. However, participants/subscribers should note that any verbiage which implies a requirement to use a specific title company or escrow service may be a violation of RESPA. You are advised to seek legal counsel for specific advice when using such verbiage. Except for reciprocal listings, no reference may be made to licensees who are not participants or subscribers. If a seller or landlord has directed that offers are not to be presented for any length of time, direction authorizing such arrangement shall be in writing, and listing broker shall provide clear and accurate notice of the date and time of presentation of offers as set forth in the written instruction to participants and subscribers in the confidential remarks of the MLS, notwithstanding seller's right to accept offers at any time. Seller's concession or credit information and comments are prohibited. Any compensation or commission information is prohibited. Rule 7.9. Withdrawal of listing prior to expiration. Listings of property must be withdrawn from the MLS by the listing broker before the expiration date of the listing agreement, if the listing broker has received written instructions from the seller to withdraw the listing from the MLS. Rule 10.2. Reporting of sales. Status change needs to be updated on the MLS within 3 days. If a listing is entered for comparable purposes only, then for comp purposes only shall appear in the first line in the confidential remarks section. MLS Rule 10.2. Reporting of sales. Listings with accepted offers shall be reported to the MLS or input into the MLS database as pending within 3 days of the acceptance by the listing broker unless the negotiations were carried on under Section 9.1a or b, in which case, the buyer broker shall notify the listing broker of the pending status within 3 days after acceptance, whereby the listing broker shall then report or input the status change to the MLS within 3 days after receiving notice from the buyer broker. The listing shall be published on the MLS as pending with no price or terms prior to the final closing. Upon final closing, the listing broker shall report or input the listing in the MLS as sold within 3 days after the final closing date unless the negotiations were carried on under Section 9.1a or b, in which case, the buyer broker shall notify the listing broker of the sold status and selling price within 3 days after the final closing date, whereby the listing broker shall then report or input the status change and selling price within 3 days after receiving notice from the buyer broker. Listings that were not input into the MLS, as a result of the seller's instructions, may be input into the MLS sold data at the listing broker's option. If a listing is entered for comparison purposes only, then for comp purposes only, shall appear in the first line of confidential remarks. MLS Rule 10.4. Reporting cancellation of pending sale. The listing broker shall report to the service within 1 day after the cancellation of any pending sale, and the listing shall be reinstated immediately, as long as there is still a valid listing. MLS Rule 12.7. Sold signs, use of the term sold, and advertising sold listings. Only broker participants or real estate subscribers who participated in the transaction as the listing broker or buyer broker may claim to have sold the property. Prior to closing, a buyer broker may post a sold sign on a property only with the consent of the listing broker. Now we will shift to Super Key services. You may be using our Super Key and Lockbox services with your MLS subscription. Be aware, the use of your key is similar to your Paragon login information. It may not be shared or used by anyone other than you. Super BTLE Lockbox is the only lockbox approved for use. MLS Rule 13.6. Written authority. Participants and subscribers shall not place a lockbox on a property without written authority from the seller and occupant if other than the seller. Inclusions in MLS compilations cannot be required as a condition of placing lockboxes on listed property. Violations may also occur when there is unauthorized entrance to a listed property. One example is the failure to follow the showing instructions. You may add a call before showing or CBS code to your lockbox. Bay East has a grab-and-go video to show you how to activate the CBS code if you need more information. MLS Rule 13.11. Removal. The lockbox must be removed within 1 day after the close of escrow or expiration's cancellation of listing. Now that we have reviewed the most common rules, what should you do if you see a listing that may be in violation of the MLS rules? Reporting a violation can be easily and anonymously done on the MLS by using the correction button on the agent report in Paragon. And remember, as a Realtor member you have access to the CAR legal team. If you have any questions about your transaction or the forms, you can reach them at 213-739-8282. There is no cost for this member benefit. This completes our MLS rules review. Now you may go on to take the MLS Orientation Exam or watch this video again. You must be logged in to the Bay East website in order to complete the exam. It contains 9 questions and you are only allowed to take it 1 time. Upon completion, you will receive a pass or fail score immediately. If you pass, congratulations, your MLS orientation requirement is complete. If you do not pass, you must attend a live virtual MLS orientation webinar. Please contact member services to schedule. Thank you so much for watching MLS Orientation and good luck on the exam.